Hi everybody, welcome to Ferrum Forge Knife Works. This is Chris here, and in this video we're going to do a little disassembly and reassembly of the MassDrop X Ferrum Forge Buc. So before we get started with everything, here's what you're going to need. You're going to need a T6 driver, you'll need a T8 driver, right? A little bit of lubrication of your choice, and maybe a lighter. Right, and that's for the pivot screw if it's thread locked in place a little bit, and we'll get to that. Well, so let's get into this. So first things first, right, we're going to flip it over, and we're going to start by removing all the screws on the lock scale first. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to start with the pivot screw. I'm going to open up the knife. We're going to give it a little try. All right, so it's spinning a little bit in there. All right, this has been thread locked, well, actually by us, so it's a little strong in there. But in order to get through that, what we're going to do is heat it up with the lighter, just right on the pivot screw, just a little bit to loosen up that thread locker. A little hit of it in there. All right, and then I'm going to pinch the knife in between my thumb and forefinger, like this. That's not good. Like this, and that's going to pinch the pivot in place. So with the knife like that, now we're going to back out this screw. There it comes. There we go. So you can see it's starting to come out. Next, all right, in order to remove this lock scale, we are going to have to remove this pocket clip. So we're going to start with the top one, and with these little machine screws, it's important when you're screwing and unscrewing to be pushing in towards the knife. So even while I'm backing it out, I'm going to push in and back it out. This top screw on the buck goes all the way through into the back spacer. And the bottom screw on the pocket clip, it just holds the pocket clip in place. So we'll pull these out. You can see this top hole going all the way through into the back spacer. Next, we're going to take out this one. And of course, like always, be careful with the sharpened blade. Make sure you're not stabbing yourself or cutting yourself. All right, now the knife is, all the screws are out. Right, we'll just pop it out. There we go. Now, right off the bat, on the inside, we have a steel washer, right, and the ceramic bearing. So remove those, keep those together. You can see now on the face scale, we have the back spacer with its standoffs going through. So in order to clean it, what we can do is we'll knock out our bearings, all right, and our washer. This is the area that's going to get the most, we call it gunked up with pocket lint and dirt and assorted other stuff. It's going to be a lot in the pivot area and then on the D10. So let's go ahead and pretend for this video that this is filthy. It's full of stuff. My bearing is, you can't even see the balls anymore because it's packed full of dirt and oil and gunk and who knows what. All right, the bearings, right, you don't need to pack them with grease. All you do is just clear out all of your debris and your gunk out of the bearings, right, so that the balls will spin freely and move nicely. And we'll do that with both of our bearings. Right, on the blade, we've got some goobers and a little bit of stuff. So I like to use Windex on this. Dish soap, any sort of cleaning product will help. Anything that cuts through grease. So I'm gonna give a little spritz with some Windex. Get it all up in there and clean it out. Right. There we go. It's nice and clean. I have no debris in my pivot hole. Right, looking good. Now, if your back spacer, because it will collect a lot of dust, in this parts as well, right? You can just remove this titanium piece, get in there, clean it out. If you really want to, you can take these screws. These are through members. Make sure you don't lose them if you take them off. I like to keep them in so I don't lose them. So there's our back spacer construction, back in place. Also, realizing it, my stop pin came out, right? This is a very, 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 very important part of the knife. So we're gonna make sure to put this back in place when we start reassembling the knife. Our buck is now apart, it's clean. Now we need to put it all back together and make sure, and dial in the action, make sure that it is beautiful and pristine. So we're gonna start with our face scale. Let's go ahead, we'll pop our pivot back in. Now make sure that you put your steel washer in first. You can see that this one has a little bit of race where the bearing is already written on it. That's gonna go in. Next, we're gonna take our bearing. Now this is one I've gotten questions before of whether to put it in this way with the, I can say the open space up top, or this way with your open space on the bottom. We recommend going with it like this. It just prevents, you know, a little bit more gunk and crud from getting up in your bearings, but mechanically it does not matter. You can put them in either way and the knife will still function. Now I'm going to put in the stop pin so that this way we know it's there, we don't forget to put it in. I've done that before. I'm going to place our stop pin in the hole. I'm going to put it, you know, at this point, while you have everything open, we're going to recommend that you take a lubricant of your choice, right, and you're going to put 1 drop just on the pivot. Just 1 drop. We don't need a whole lot, you just need just enough in there. Now with that, slide the blade over. Okay, now remember, we're building on our way up, so we're going to take our other bearing, put it in like that, and then we're going to top it with our steel washer. You can see it's got the races. And then at this point, we're going to place our lock scale over the top, making sure that our washers and our bearings stay in place. You hear it click. That means everything has lined up. Now, I like to put in the pivot screw first, but you can do whatever you want. So with the machine screws, when you tighten them, start like backing up. Go the opposite direction until you hear it click into the threads. I don't know if you heard that. I can never hear it in the video. So that'll set it into the threads properly, and then you just screw it in. If you're encountering a lot of resistance, stop, back it out. You're probably cross-threading your screw. So now I've got it in a little bit, it's spinning. So we're gonna just lock the knife out. This will pinch it. We can finish tightening it down. Right. And then with the pivot, what we're trying to do here is we want to get it just where the pivot is snug, but not tightened down too much. And we'll double check that once we get the rest of the knife together. I'm gonna put this screw in, and this is the same thing when I get this started. Right. I'm gonna loosen it until I feel it sit right there, and just tighten it down. All the time making sure I'm pushing this way into the knife, and it's snug. We're gonna replace our pocket clip. Remember, the top screw is going to be a little bit longer because that is going all the way down into the through member. So keep those, make sure you keep those straight when you're putting it back together. There it is, clicked in. Not gonna tighten that one all the way down until we get our second screw in. There it goes. Snug it down, snug this one down. Let's see how we did. Okay, so at this point now I'm gonna get all the pivot tension dialed in, make sure that our detent and our lockup is solid and that we're centered. So right now this feels pretty good. I have no side-to-side play. I got a little bit. But what I'm gonna do now, we've got everything back together, is I'm gonna pop this pivot screw back out, put a little bit of thread locker on it to keep it in place. And then we're gonna do a small bit of lubrication and the knife will be done. Okay. Oop. Take our pivot, and this one I'm gonna do just a tiny drop of Loctite. can get the little drop to come out. So you can see just a small little drop. That might even be a little much. Just a little bit. We don't want to throw too much in there because at some point we will want to take this knife back apart. But we don't want the screw loosening up over time, and it's just, no matter what you do, that pivot screw will loosen up if it's not locked in place. There's a lot of vibrations. These knives go through hundreds of cycles a day, opening and closing. So it's just the way screws work. This one now is feeling a little tight. I have the pivot. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back it off just a little bit, like less than a 1/16 of a turn. Just a little bit. Let's see. Okay, that feels a lot better. How am I doing? No side to side play. We're centered. Excellent. And the very last step now is we're going to take our lube and we're going to put one small drop of lube right there on the detent ball. So you see the ball? Just going to take one small drop. Boop. I'm going to run it through a couple times, make sure that that is spreading out across the entire track of the detent. Oh, it's buttery now. And there you go. That is how to disassemble and reassemble your MassDrop Ferrum Forge Buc. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them down in the comments. We're doing our best to make sure that we stay on top of all of those. And if you're not already subscribed, go ahead and do it. Elliot and I have a lot of videos planned for 2019. We're going to get back to what we used to do. So stay tuned, give us a like, give us a subscribe, and have a great day and stay awesome, everyone.